Okay, well, hello everyone. Welcome to Wine, Women, and Words. Actually, Happy New Year. This is our first episode of Wine, Women, and Words for the new year. We took December off, so as soon as Diana gets here, she is having some technical difficulties. So I haven't seen her in like a month and a half, which is a very long time for us. But we have Adrienne Young and Isabel Ibañez with us. We are going to be talking about, and I don't know why, a long, long time ago, we did video all. So we got in the habit of showing everyone the book that we're going to talk about. But now we're just showing authors their own books since it's video only. But thank you both so much for joining us to talk about the Storyteller's Workbook. It's an inspirational interactive guide to the craft of novel writing, and it is epic. I think it is absolutely amazing. So I'm so excited to have you both here to talk about it tonight.
Thank you for having us. This is Adrienne. This voice is Adrienne.
Hey, I'm Isabel. Thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely. So as soon as Diana joined us, I know she and I had been texting back and forth. As soon as we got the workbook, she got it first because I was away somewhere. I think I was at my mom's house in North Carolina, and her first text message to me was, "Oh my God, this workbook is amazing." So let's, I guess, start at the beginning. And can you give an overview of what the workbook is about for our listeners who may not be familiar with it? Whoever feels like going.
Do you want to tackle it or do you want me to tackle it?
I'll do it this time. So the Storyteller's Workbook is, we've been using, I feel like a lot of times we're falling on this word companion. We feel like it's a companion for a writer who is on the very harrowing journey of writing a novel. It kind of takes you through the steps from the very beginning. The workbook is broken into two parts. The first is getting the story down, and the second part is getting the story out there. And the first half of the workbook focuses on, the brainstorming and planning and research and even calendaring out your draft and tackling that step by step. And then the second half of the workbook deals a lot more with what comes after, which is, revision, polishing, learning how to write a synopsis. There's title worksheets and character development tools and all kinds of things. And it leads you kind of all the way to the point in the process where you are, if you choose to go the traditional publishing route, to pitching to agents and tracking those queries and going into the query trenches. So it's meant to, be kind of like a playground for the writer, just lots of inspirational space to play with story and kind of discover where it's leading you.
And I think that was a really well done overview of the workbook. We're entering our 8th year doing this podcast. Oh, and wow. I have, over the years, long since discovered that mastering the synopsis of a novel is an art for authors doing marketing or interviews or promotions. Like, you have to figure out how to condense it into like a 30-second overview.
Yeah, it's a whole different skill set than writing a novel. It's very hard to write a synopsis.
It's learning how to figure out what are the important key moments of your book and somehow still conveying enough emotion so that it captures the tone of your book while revealing everything that happens in a very short amount of space.
That's workbook number 2. That's the now in the world, what happens next workbook. So I love to pick your brains about how you sat down and both got together and decided to lay out the foundation for this workbook.
You want me to do it? Mm-hmm. Well, many years ago.
Many moons ago.
It was probably 2.5 years ago. We hadn't moved to our new home state, and I got a call from Adrienne, and she wanted to brainstorm about this project. And she's a very fun person to brainstorm with. We kind of think the very same way. We're very entrepreneurial. We are constantly thinking of business ideas to our husband's despair. You don't have time. Hey.
Hi.
Anyway, so she called me up, and she was talking about essentially what would become the very first just spark of the notebook. And as she was telling me everything that was going to go into the workbook, the conversation kind of devolved into, what about this and this and this? And then later she kind of came back to me, and she was like, what if we did it together? I joke about this, but she's got she wrote a lot of the content. And my previous background before I was writing full time was I was a graphic designer, an illustrator, a printmaker. I sold stationery, greeting cards, that kind of thing. And so I really love layout, design, illustration. And so when she was kind of sharing a little bit about the content that she wanted to put into the workbook, I swear I was coming alive. I was just
like, I was born for this.
This is awesome. And so I was starting to really just play around with how to put a lot of this content in a way that was not overwhelming, that felt very fluid, that was still instructional, but a joy to look at. So it wasn't, so technical that it could become kind of not boring. I think that's the wrong word, but just overwhelming, to receive a lot of information. And so the design really goes hand in hand with the content. And after that, we really just we moved to our new home state, and we started getting together in cups and started laying out, planning, dreaming about the workbook. And it started growing, honestly. It was a very personal thing.
Well, I think I have many, many favorites. And actually, let me pause really quick and say hi to Diana, because she has joined us now. I think, unless she's frozen. She looks very serious right now. Happy New Year. I've missed you.
Finally, the gremlins have been worked out of my computer. I hope so. I hope that's the case.
I was saying Happy New Year. I haven't seen you in like a month and a half. It's been a very, very long time. But I think two of my immediate favorite things that I saw in the book were the writer woods, and how you can do the color in the trees for each, if it's you can assign the value to it right at the beginning. You could say each tree is 1,000 words or an hour of work or whatever you want to do, and you color in. And as like a bullet journal user, bullet journal person, that just makes my little bullet journal heart so happy to have that. That's exactly the type of page that I would make for myself in a journal to keep myself accountable. So that's one thing that I really loved. And the other, I think we just need to talk for a second about the character development chapter, because I love the character development. I mean, this is not name, age, description, and that's it. It's, what they want. I'm just reading examples. What they want most in the world. What line won't they cross? What line will they cross? Childhood. I mean, I have a manuscript that I've written for the past 7 years that's already done, but I want to go back and fill in the character development pages for my characters to flesh them out even more. So I don't think I'm going to save this book for my next project. This might be like my mid pre-publishing workbook I'm not even there yet, but I just love how deep you guys go into the character development.
And for me, I'm on my fourth book technically, because I did just turn in my third book to my agent last month, but I'm starting to plan the book. And I know in a lot of ways this is marketed towards new authors and beginning your journey, but there's so much value in it for established authors, for once you finish the book, you're like, okay, got to start over again. And you have to have these tools and reminding yourself, and that character workout that Michelle was talking about. I like sat down one evening and I was like, all right, I've got these ideas for these characters. Who the hell are they? And I start fleshing them out. And because of that character section, that was so helpful for me to know a few of the characters and help spark some of the issues I was having in working out the plot for the next book.
Yeah.
So glad.
I was gonna say, I feel like first, the Writer Woods are also one of my favorites because I like the satisfaction of like checking boxes and marking things off and, tracking things. And with the actual like what you're measuring, that was something super intentional on our part because we both work very differently. And I know a lot of writers do. Some writers don't have word goals, or they might have chapter goals, or they might have time goals, like what you mentioned. So it's like, no matter how you work, you can use like a little tracker. So I love that. And yes, with the character development sheets, this is something that I've been using for years. I basically made myself a worksheet like a long time ago, and I've built on it over time. And then when Isabel and I were like developing it for the workbook, also we added a few things to it, I believe, didn't we, Isabel? I feel like we added a few things, or maybe
we might have added a couple of things.
Yeah. So, but that's something that I have used for every project of mine for a really long time too, just to ask myself questions, like kind of almost like diagnostic questions about a character that you don't realize you need to know this, but then it'll inform so much of what you're actually putting on the page and how they talk and, the choices they make and all of that. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of my favorite parts of the workbook too.
And as far as when you both, were in the discussions of what should we include, what is a crucial part of the novel writing process, once you got everything down there, was there anything that you have gone back and went, oh, wow, that is super useful for me. I want to remember to go back and do this particular part or this section for myself?
We honestly, the entirety of the notebook is meant to be a functional tool, no matter what stage you are as a writer, published, unpublished, agenting, or the querying. And so there were many additions that the character worksheets for sure, the world building. I love to world build.
Oh, yes.
Something that I continuously think about, dream about. I'm really partial to the revision checklist. So there were many things that I would use. We were I don't know if it was before we were recording or not, but Adrienne and I were just kind of talking about how we were going to use it for our next projects, So it is something that I think that there is something for everyone, no matter where they are.
Yeah. And the thing that I feel like in the workbook, as we developed it, that I want to kind of be more cognizant about for my own projects going forward is the revision kind of development plan, where we talk about breaking changes that you're going to make in your revision to the draft, breaking them up in like micro, medium, and macro sections and like tackling them that way. Cause I feel like that's a more intentional kind of strategic way to tackle changes on a huge monster draft. So that's something that I definitely feel like was a little light bulb thing for me. Cause Isabel already does that. And in the past, I feel like I haven't really thought of it specifically that way. And so it's something that I want to take into my next project for sure.
Adrienne and I joke about this, but I really, I just don't love to draft. I look forward to the revision process. And of course you can't get there unless, you write the story that you need to write. But by the time I get to the revision aspect, I am so excited. I geek out about dividing up the manuscript in like the big edits and the medium-sized edits and what falls under each little categories. So I'm excited for you to do it this way. You're going to have to tell me what you think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is such we have had an ongoing, we have had a longstanding debate of plotting versus pantsing on this podcast. And I'm a pantser, Diana's a plotter. But I think for the pantsers of, and not just, this is for amazing for everyone, but like this will make me, this appeals to like my inner nerd of lists and to lists and projects, and this will make me plot without feeling like I'm plotting.
Mhm.
So this could actually like pull me over to the plotting side of the yes.
The plotting side.
I'm so excited to just dive in, and the world building section between this workbook and a video that I happened to see on Instagram one day of someone just like dumped rice onto a piece of paper and kind of like traced around where the grains fell, and that became the map outline, and then they like shaded it in. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I want to try that. Between that and the world building section, you can like really bring a world to life for a story. So I'm going to do like both of them and combine that.
I've seen a video like that too, and I think they used dried beans or something, but it was like,
I've never seen this.
It's so cool because then you come up with like a really, what looks like a true border, like,
Cool.
you know, like it's not like straight lines and things, and it looks very like flowing and kind of intuitive.
And like the single grains that fell on off to the side by themselves, they become little islands, or you can have like a chain of islands depending. It's really cool. It's a really great project, I think, or cool. And I know hello. It isn't a podcast episode without my cat jumping up and joining the party. But I know you also are both obviously writers, and with works in progress. Are you in the drafting stage, or are getting ready to have another book come out, or what stage are you in your own projects right now?
I was looking at Isabel thinking she was about to start talking. I am in the revision stage right now for my second adult novel. I diving deep into the woods of that right now. It's coming out late this year. And then in the fall, I'll be working on my next young adult novel. Sorry, in the spring.
I was going to say you jumped seasons.
It all blurs together. It's okay.
I know your schedule, Adrienne. Like the middle of copy edits for What the River Knows, which is my next YA historical fantasy coming out November 4th, 2023. I'm very excited about this book. So doing copy edits, and then immediately I turn around and my editor should be sending me notes for the sequel, and then I will be revising the sequel for the next, I don't know, probably 3 months is what probably I'll get. So
you guys have a pretty busy year ahead of you already, and it's January 12th.
Yeah,
it's kind of status quo for us. I feel like we're both people that like to be busy and like to have a lot on our plates.
I think we both had 3 projects come out this past year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Full calendar.
Yeah.
But I think writers, we all kind of thrive on that kind of like pressure, having that all, like you said, all those. This workbook is already out in the world, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Okay.
So how has it been to see it out there, and have you had feedback from other writers / readers about implementing this tool that you've created and given authors to use for their own projects?
It has been really sweet, honestly, and very moving. After working on this project in between other big projects, squeezing it in every spare moment, and then to hop on Instagram and get tagged and people using the workbook, right next to their laptops, their computers, what have you. I've seen people using the stickers in a fun, creative way. I loved that. The book opened up to specific pages that people are working on. It's been really cool.
Yeah,
It's
I like
like
seeing how
life.
people use stickers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like the stickers travel out into people's lives, like on their water bottles or their laptops or, like I saw someone the other day had one like on their dash of their car. Like
so
see if
cool.
they're driving. And I just think that's really cute.
I'm now starting to learn that stickers are a very big trend. I feel like I'm very late on this.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
It's a new expansion of my bullet journaling experience and more things to order for myself, but that's okay. Thank you both so much for making time for us and coming and letting us nerd out with you about the workbook. And we'll definitely have to keep an eye out for both of your next projects. And once I start filling in all of my character development things, I will definitely join the Instagrammers posting and tagging so you can see what I'm working on.
Yes, please do. We love seeing your stuff. And thank you so much for having us too. We really appreciate it.
Oh, of course. And I'm sorry we for our technical difficulties, Zoom is the enemy tonight.
I feel like we're all used to it right now.
No problem.
But for everyone out there who would like to get their own copy and get started on it, you can always click on the link in our show notes to our bookshop on bookshop.org. Of course, bookshop.org supports all of our wonderful writers. It supports the podcast, but most importantly, it supports all of the wonderful indie bookstores there. And you can dive into the workbook and share your progress on Instagram too, because we want to see it also. Adrienne, Isabel, thank you so much. I hope you both have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.